to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ron. I'd just like to apologize to the audience and to the board members here. Rain delay caught me late. With that, we'll begin. The local planning agency is an advisory board which makes recommendations to the county commissioners, who will then make the final decisions on these items. Items 1 through 5 on today's agenda will be heard by the county commission on August 5th. Items 6 and 7 will be heard by the county commission on August 24th. When a motion ends in any kind of split vote, a roll call vote may be taken to ensure accuracy. As a reminder, each member who makes a motion or second needs to turn on their microphone so your voice is on the record. At this time, is there any board member who had any ex parte communication regarding any application? Please disclose so now.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I need to recuse myself from items H1, H2, and H3. The applicant's representative is my employer.
Thank you, David. Staff, you have that? All right. Do I have approval from the LPA minutes for May 17, 2021?
So move.
I'll second.
I had a motion by Capote and a second by Joe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none. H1.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chairman and board members. Today's item H1 is zoning action number 21Z00012. It is CBH Properties Melbourne LLC. Bruce Moya is the applicant. They're requesting a change of zoning classification from BU1 with an existing binding development plan to BU2 with an amendment to the existing binding development plan. This is tax account number 3022324 and district number 4.
Thank you very much. I see the applicant is here today, Mr. Moya.
Yes, good afternoon, Vice Chair and members of the LPA. My name is Bruce Moy. I'm the president of MBV Engineering, representing the applicant. Today, what we're asking, this is you might be familiar with this piece of property. It's on Wickham Road next to the new apartment complexes by the Fresh Market. There is it's an automotive store. It's called Christian Brothers Automotive. Their business has been around for 40 years. They are in 30 states, 242 stores nationwide, 8 in Florida, and now they have one in Melbourne in Brevard County. So exciting! They're already open and they're conducting business. However, they realize that in the zoning, part of the work that they do is to replace motors and transmissions. Basically, what they do is a client will come in and they will order the transmission or the motor and replace it usually that same day once it arrives. Under the BU1 zoning, they cannot do that work. So what we are doing is presenting a BDP to allow us to do just that work. They will not be rebuilding transmissions on site. They will not be rebuilding motors on site. They would just want the ability to replace motors and transmissions for their customers. They'll order a new one, put a new one in, and they're on their way. So, I don't think they're aware of that. It's a big company, and I don't know if the ones that were, when we started the project, if they were aware that that was a restriction on the zoning. They've become aware now that they're operating. So they want to be compliant, and they're asking for permission to rezone the property, and with the BDP limiting it to just that additional work. So I'm here to answer any questions if you have them, and hope that you will approve this item.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Moya?
I saw in the notes, and correct me if I'm wrong, that within the BDP, if the applicant held a dealer license, they would be able to do these automotive repairs. Was that true or not?
I think it's the zoning that prevents them from doing this type of work, regardless of what type of license they hold or not.
Okay, I just thought that was kind of interesting, and I didn't want that to get in the way.
Okay, thank you.
I think I have seen the building. I think it's a great looking building in the area. They did a fantastic job building it, and it's something that I would certainly be in favor of.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Just one question. Will any motors or transmission be stored on the property itself?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Is that
Moyer.
correct? Am I saying that? That's correct, yeah. Just double checking. We actually have representatives from the
Thank you.
business here.
Go out to the audience. Anybody like to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
I move for approval.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, that motion included the stipulations in the proposed BDP as well?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Moving on to H2.
The items in H2 and H3 are companion applications. One is for the future land use and the other is for zoning. First is H2, which is zoning action 21PZ 00030. 4090 Aurora Pines LLC requests a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment change to change the future land use designation from Res 4 to Res 6. That's tax account 2702879 in District 5. And H3 is 21Z 00016. 4090 Aurora Pines LLC requests a change of zoning classification from TR3 to TR-1-A. That is the same tax account 2702879, also in District 5.
Thank you. Applicant, Mr. Moyer.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, these are companion applications. You can consider them together. However, you'll have to have a separate motion for each one of them.
Understood. Thank you.
Hi, good evening again. Bruce Moya, MVB Engineering, representing the applicant. This request is for a piece of property on Aurora Road, pretty far out west, almost all the way to where John Rhodes turns into Aurora. And there's an existing trailer park on the site, and there's about 2.6 acres it's vacant. It's never been developed. It's owned by the people that own the trailer park, and they would like to put some single-family homes there that would basically be compatible with the area that's out there. The land use is compatible with the surrounding land uses, as well as the zoning. We're asking for a little bit more than we need because of in order to get the lot size and the density that we need, we're asking for more than we think we need. To get the zoning we need, to get the lot size we want, we have to ask for additional density that we don't need. But in order to make the zoning compatible with the land use, we have to ask for it. So we're asking for a little bit more than we need. We estimate, we've done a little concept plan, we think we can get 10 lots on it. You know, it's a pretty small project, but they would like to go ahead and develop that undeveloped property. They would be bringing water and sewer to the property. They would be constructing the internal roadway system and developing those lots. So, as well as maintaining the mobile home park that exists there now. I think that mobile home park's been there for a long time, probably since the 50s or 60s. So, unless there's any questions, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Any questions for Mr. Moyer from the board?
Are these going to be single-family homes or?
Yes, single-family
manufactured
detached.
homes,
As far as I know, they're single-family detached.
but not manufactured or mobile?
They would be allowed in the zoning, correct me if I'm wrong, they could be.
That's correct.
I don't think that's what he's proposing, but that would be, I mean, there are quite a few mobile home parks in the area, so it wouldn't be out of character, but that's not what we intend to do.
Are you building on the eastern part of the
The
lot
eastern
and
half
leaving
of the
those,
lot, yes, sir.
those mobile homes there?
Yep.
Will you have to put in another access way, or?
We would be building a road out to Aurora, and we'd be bringing water and sewer in from I think it's to the north and to the east.
Those manufactured homes now, are they already on sewer and water?
I don't think they are.
No?
No.
Okay.
They've been there a long time before water and sewer were ever out there.
Figured as much.
That was the only thing out there for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Moyer? Hearing no more, about to the audience. Anybody like to speak for or against this item? This would be H2 and H3, 4090 Aurora Pines LLC. Seeing none, bring it back to the pleasure of the board for item H2.
Mr. Chair, I'll motion to approve H2, changing the land designation from Res 4 to Res 6. I think that this is an improvement for the area.
I'd second
I got a motion by Ben and a second by Joe. All those in favor, say aye.
it. Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Moving to H3, same location, 4090 Aurora Pines LLC.
Mr. Chair, I move to motion approval H3, changing zoning classification TR3 to TR1-A.
I'd second.
I have a second by Ben, pardon me, a motion by Ben and a second by Joe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. All right. Thank you. Moving to H4.
Mr. Vice Chair, what is before you is a code revision to Chapter 98, Article 4 for the Port St. John Dependent Special District Board, Section 98-105. What this does is it changes our current ordinance where if for any reason the Port St. John Board is not able to meet due to a lack of quorum, those applications will not be held up. They would be heard by either the P&Z Board or the LPA Board in an effort to move these applications along so there isn't a delay for that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. I do have one question. How often does this board not have a quorum?
There was 4 times in the last year. So most recently, there was one in March. I take that back. It was back in February.
I do have some concerns about this. I know the residents can come here and voice their opinion, but it's just kind of another step in the ladder, if you will. However, I do like to have the discussion amongst the board and hear what the other board members have to say. Thank you.
So if they don't have a quorum, it comes to us. If they do, it just goes directly to the commissioners.
No, if they do not have a quorum, how the ordinance is written, they would be tabled until the next meeting that they can hear the item. The ordinance that is proposed in front of you, for any reason that they are not able to meet, it would just move to either the Planning and Zoning Commission or the LPA, depending on how that schedule works. So in the past, there was some, delays in hearing those applications. Regardless, they would still go to the Board of County Commissioners for their ultimate approval or denial.
So what's being proposed, it carries to us if they don't have a quorum or cannot meet.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I had a couple comments. As I see it, there's really 2 issues involved in this change. One is that it makes all of the special board recommendations come to our board rather than some of them coming to our board and some going directly to the BOCC. That's one change. And some board members may think about that as being a kind of reduction in the power of the local board. I'll leave that up to you as to whether you think that's a real reduction or whether it's kind of not material. The other thing that it does is it allows some items to skip the local board if the local board doesn't have quorum. Since these local board meetings provide an opportunity for public input, that's really what our job is, and that's what their job is. And I'd really hate to see at some time in the future language like this added to our own rules. As a representative of the public, we really should be more concerned with allowing public input than sticking to a schedule.
So if I can just, if it carries to us, does the staff notify them from the county? Or are they already notified as far as the 500 feet perimeter of the property?
They would get no, well,
A new notification stating
No.
they need to be here?
we would notify both the advisory, or both advisory boards, because when the advertisements go out, we don't know if they're gonna have a quorum or not. So with the advertisement, it'll be advertised for the advisory board, you know, for Port St. John, and it'll get notified for this board as well.
So it'd be up to the advisory board of Port St. John to relay the message, or that they would be meeting here versus there in the event that it did not.
It'll be, no, it wouldn't be up to them because they can't meet if they don't have a quorum. So on the courtesy notice that we send out, it'll have that information.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Quick question. You're doing this because there's issue with those boards meeting? Is that the reasoning for this?
Yes, and the board on March 23rd gave staff the legislative intent to make these changes.
Okay. And the
So-
commission is aware?
Yes, they're the ones that gave us the.
Directive?
Right, it's called legislative intent.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
the second change about quorums appears to be really primarily aimed at the Port St. John Board. If you look at the information that was given in our packet, they seem to have more no quorum meetings than the North Merritt Island Board. Apparently, the North Merritt Island Board, and it's my experience having dealt with them before, that they are very active and very dedicated. And according to one of their members, they've not had a no quorum meeting except one in 10 years. The North Merritt Island Board did say that they would like to have a second chance, rather than just having if you don't have a quorum, then give us one more chance to get a quorum. And if we can't do it twice, then go ahead and pass it up. I'm not sure that that is necessary, simply because 1 in 10 years, that's, now, the Port St. John Board had a comment, and I believe it was worthwhile. Neither board has alternates. So, like our board, we've got 5 alternates. You know, their board has none. They recommended that they get some alternates. And I believe that would be something that could indeed solve the problem of no quorum meetings. And once you have the problem of no quorum meetings, then it just kind of smooths out. Actually, I would like to make a recommendation that we approve this with an addition that we change section 98-104 to add the appointment of 2 alternates to each of the boards.
Is that a motion, sir?
Yes.
I would like,
Go
Go ahead, go ahead.
Please. Further
no,
discussion?
because I want to understand the alternate position, because in dealing.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted
Okay,
first.
yes, all right.
Okay,
I just
sorry.
want to make sure that this board, this is for the Port St. John item. The next item would be talking about the North Merritt Island Advisory Board. So this is just a recommendation for Port St. John.
Correct.
Right now,
H4.
right now, it's just a recommendation
Correct,
for the
okay.
Port St. John.
I just want to make that clarification.
Yeah.
And that recommendation, what Mr. Barcher just mentioned, was the recommendation that came out of Port St. John, what they wanted as far as changes.
Which would be the alternate.
Correct.
Mr. Capote.
Now, an understanding alternate, okay? If you're having a meeting like we just had last week, sorry I couldn't be here, and the person doesn't show, how do you is the alternate supposed to sit in the audience waiting to see whether the person comes or not? Is that going to be the scenario? Because you need to understand, when you say alternate, standby means that person then would have to come to the meetings accordingly, waiting to see if someone didn't show up or not in order to meet that quorum. So how is that going to work?
if I can put it in baseball terms. So the alternates is kind of like the on-deck person.
No, I didn't.
So they would have to show up at the meetings in case, because, we call and make sure that we have a quorum. Obviously, we can't look at our crystal ball and make sure that, everyone that says that are going to come, comes. So if that's the outcome of the, what happens here in the board meeting, those alternates would have to attend the meeting in case that there was a, lack of a quorum.
Right. That's what makes it difficult, because understanding, we don't get paid. And most people that do this don't get paid. And for them to come and then not even participate, after a while, they're probably not going to show up, because they could have life-changing things happening in their lives and they might not come to the meeting, and then you don't have a quorum. So it's a double-edged sword you're playing with here.
Yeah, but
I know it sounds
Let me
good.
throw something in there. Yeah, but what they're gonna have to do is like we've done on this board for many, many, many years. Your alternates can come in and participate in everything except vote. And the only time they get to vote is when somebody's out. But what they need to do is, what I think would be a good deal with, instead of having, like we have 5 alternates, maybe they could just have 3 that could go anywhere and be chosen at any time. You see what I'm trying to say? They can participate in all the discussions in the whole 9 yards, but they can't vote, but we don't need 5 alternates. But you've got to give them something, they've got to have a voice in here, or like he's right, they're not going to show up. That's just me.
So,
Yeah,
right, I totally agree with what you said, because the thing is, to sit around and not.
No, I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't do it.
Oh, right, exactly, because.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I attended these meetings as an alternate for 3 years. I participated in the discussion, and the only time I voted was when there wasn't enough other people.
Yeah. Will we
Now,
all,
if that wording
And-
is added, then it's a different story, but that wasn't the wording that was added.
Well, I think any alternate can participate in every meeting.
I would.
But that
st-
wasn't the motion.
It's already written in the rules, I believe.
Well, we would have, what we need to do, I guess, you're right, it's not written in there. What, the way our board works and the way alternates work is in the rules for our board. And I would expect that we would need to take that same kind of language from our rules.
Yes.
And put it into the rules for these other boards.
So that will be the motion that, at hand, that if we do want to have an alternate, that the alternate then participates with the North, Port St. John's and the North Merritt Island.
We're not talking about
No,
North
I know, we're
Carolina.
not talking about North Merritt Island, but this is across the board that we're going to change, so Merritt Island's coming up.
Correct.
So if we're going to make a change, it's a uniform change.
For staff, is there a Jennifer for Port St. John that's doing the same thing? Or are you the Jennifer that handles theirs as well? So do you not do the same thing with them that you do with us? Reach out, hey, are you going to attend, not going to attend? So I'm assuming that with those alternates, there are none now, but if there were some, you'd be able to get them to the meeting? Or attempt to get them to the meeting?
I also wanted to clarify with the emails that you send out for LPA and P&Z, alternates are included in that email? Okay, thank you.
So if Jennifer's already doing that and we add the alternates, I don't see where we're going to have a big issue here.
No, as long as that we have the wording.
Would staff have a problem with that, or do we have to amend the motion? Do LPA and P&Z rules carry on to the Port St. John Authority Board?
And I'm not clear as to what rules we're referring to. I
the
suppose that's
rule-
what I need to.
The rules of the alternate
Application.
participating but not voting unless a primary member is not here, then that alternate can
If
vote.
there's more than 10 regular members here, then an alternate, if 3 alternates from, say, District 5 are here, and you have more than 10 members up there, then that alternate can participate but cannot vote.
Correct. So that would carry down to the Port St. John Board, correct?
How many
It's not in
members?
the ordinance right now, there's 7 members.
Is it in our current ordinance? Is that something we just have?
Because they've never had alternates. So,
Okay,
I mean,
we would have to, yes, I mean, if we made that change to the alternate language, that can be a proposal. My concern is that the legislative intent that we received is for section 98-105, which did not pertain to alternates. So we may have an advertising issue. So you may make this recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, and we may actually have to redo advertisements to actually make the change to section 98-104. So, I mean, obviously, this board can make, you can vote to recommend approval as is, recommend denial, or recommend approval with a modification. But obviously, just be aware of the fact that if it does have that modification, we will evaluate the current language for this board as far as alternates is concerned, but we may actually have to have another hearing because of the fact we did not advertise for 98-104, we advertised for 98-105.
Ron, you have a problem with that, sir?
No, I think it's important that we go ahead and make that recommendation. And if they choose to ignore it and ignore the Port St. John Board recommendation as well, then so be it.
I agree.
But we
Excellent.
need to tell them.
Yes, sir.
Yep, good move.
So I have a motion by Ron and a second by Ben. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously. Moving on to H5, and this will be North Merritt Island Development Special District Board.
So this is another code change to Chapter 98, Article 5, North Merritt Island Dependent Special District Board, Section 98-145. This is the same ordinance pertaining to the North Merritt Island Dependent District, that in event that there is a lack of a quorum, that items that were scheduled for that meeting can move forward without the recommendation of that advisory board and go straight to either the P&Z board or the LPA. Now, I would tell you that in the agenda report, there were some modifications that the North Merritt Island Advisory Board made. That's in the agenda report. If you like more clarification on that, I'd be happy to provide that for you.
Any questions from the board?
So this is the same situation.
It is the same situation regarding the quorum.
And they did not ask for alternates.
They did not ask for alternates that I saw in the minutes. However, alternates would help with the problem. They were concerned about having their voice not heard because there wasn't a quorum. That's why they wanted to have a second opportunity. But
But they meet. It was
but they
one
only,
time in
like I
10
said, they
years.
only had one of those occurrences in 10 years.
Yeah.
And if
I
we
do
give
have-
them, if we have the alternates, then that is most likely going to resolve the problem.
Ron, I mistakenly did not go to the audience for
I'm sorry.
the previous item.
Yeah.
So I see somebody up here, if you don't
Oh,
mind,
okay.
sir.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to
No
make
worries.
one.
It's my fault. Go
No, it's not. I'm Tad Calkins, I'm staff, so I'm just not in the penalty box. But I wanted to make one clarification between the two boards. Is the Port St. John Special Dependent District is an appointed board by the Board of County Commissioners. The North Merritt Island Board are elected by the North Merritt Island folks. So appointing or getting into the alternates for them, I think it could be helpful. But I don't know how we would bridge that gap, being that they're elected. And so it's kind of different, it's a little bit of a different beast. And so I just wanted to make, bring that to y'all's attention before you get too far down the alternate discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That's- That would be a hard one to do.
absolutely.
Chair, to do, elected body's an elected body.
Yeah, it definitely throws a wrench in the North Merritt Island Board. Any further discussion on for North Merritt Island or a motion?
Can staff recommend that additional people are elected at, say, the next election as alternates?
We don't have that ability to do that. It'd be up to the appointing body, or not appointing body, but the District 1.
would that have to be done by referendum?
I think that the challenge that we're all faced with is the board asked us to make a very specific change to an ordinance that has multiple sections. So, and as Abby mentioned, the first time I came up here, I was going to mention we may have a problem with the advertisement, and we may have been too specific in just advertising a little sliver of the code and say this is what we want to do, because that's what they asked us to do. So if you wanted us to go back, or if your recommendation was that we broaden that and look at adding members, that would be something we could certainly take forward to them, but we would have to go and see what section of code that would be in, and then we would have to see if we could do that as part of this code change, or if we would in fact have to tell the Board of County Commissioners they got to re-advertise. And then that your recommendation is that you expand that, which may be the case. I don't know. This is a
Another
very
question?
different one.
Right, for the Merritt Island case, wouldn't it have, since they're an elected body by the citizens, if that's what you
Yes.
said?
Yes.
Then that means that I would have, if that change, if you wanted to make that change, it would have to go to the residents.
Yeah, well, it's, they're provided by ordinance, right?
It is by ordinance. I'd have to check to see if that ordinance actually went to a referendum originally, or was it
Right.
something that the Board of
Right.
County Commissioners did in
Yeah.
their authority? If it was the Board of County Commissioners, then ideally, if we advertise correctly, they could obviously add alternates and have the elections to get those alternates, elected. I would have to look into it a little bit
That would
further.
be, that would have to be within the referendum that was originally voted on in order to make that change.
And that's what we would have to, we
Right,
would have
yeah.
to research on
That's what we
that.
have to find out.
Okay.
Staff, when do you think you can find that out? Basically, I'm asking if it's a pleasure of the board, can we table this item to have some of those questions answered?
I mean, we could.
If it's the pleasure of the
You
board.
advertised it already for the
Yeah,
board.
Do we need to table it?
I'm just going to give you some of my thoughts on this. As this being an elected board, the Merritt Island, even though they may only give recommendations, because they're elected, I kind of want them to have their say in what they're doing, compared to just appointed as a Port St. John. So I'd feel uncomfortable having them skip that meeting and just come straight to us, since they are elected board. If that makes sense, sir. So that's kind of my thinking on it. If we're to go for it right now, I'm opposed to it. That's why I prefer to table it and see if staff can give us some more answers. But again, it's at the pleasure of the board, whatever the board would like to do.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
The thing is that, I guess, 1 through 5 are being heard by the commission on August 5th. It's timeline, that's why I would have a question for staff. Is there an issue on us tabling, even though that this is going to go before the commission on the 5th?
One of the thoughts is that you can make that recommendation.
To table it?
For staff to do research and let the board decide whether they want staff to do the research or not.
Right. Okay.
So I think that the consensus there is that we've got the direction from the Board of County Commissioners to prepare the ordinance as we have prepared it. So obviously, this board can make those recommendations, kind of like what you did for the prior ordinance for Port St. John, and basically direct it, keep this item moving forward, and let the Board of County Commissioners, because we are concerned there'll be advertising issues. So even if those recommendations are amenable to the Board of County Commissioners, we're probably going to have to re-advertise anyways for that particular section. So I think that probably the consensus would be to move it forward with your recommendation if you have a modification to that ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bring it back to the board. What's the pleasure of the board?
So move on the language.
I have a motion by Mayor Capote,
Second.
second by Ben.
Was that the motion as recommended by
As
North Merritt Island?
recommended by staff.
With their,
As recommended by staff. So I have a motion by Mr. Capote.
Mr. Capote.
Sorry, Mr.
No,
Mayor.
was
And,
that-
second by Ben.
recommended by staff or by the North Merritt Island Board?
With the
But
two
I went with by staff, with the alternate, by what, the
Okay.
conversation we were just
So-
having.
So here,
Right.
for Jennifer, I will restate what I discussed with y'all is that we move forward with the proposed language with the idea of adding 2 alternates and the ability for staff to research to see if there's any other implications as far as the, the elected versus the appointed body.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's it.
Motion by Mr. Capote, second by Ben. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving to H6.
Mr. Chairman, this is another code revision to allow for a maximum of 1.75 FAR, which references floor air ratio in conjunction with a PUD zoning. For those of you who remember, a couple months ago, staff brought forward the comprehensive plan amendment to do this. This is the LDR request to update our county zoning code to reflect that change.
Thank you. I'm going to go out to the audience first, if you guys don't mind, since I forgot them. Anybody from the audience for or against this item? Seeing none, I'm bringing it back to the board for discussion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
When this came up before, one of the comments that I had was that one thing this does is it actually allows for more higher buildings on smaller lots. And in today's real estate environment, I'm thinking that's probably a good thing. So I'm certainly in favor of it.
I would agree with you. Infill development seems to be the way to go. Any other further discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this as it is.
I
second it.
I have a motion by Ron and a second by Joe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Last item of the day, H7.
Good afternoon. This is a request to extend the temporary moratorium on the new application of biosolids to lands within Brevard County. New biosolids rules were ratified by the legislature in the 2021 session, signed by the governor on June 30th. They do increase water quality protections and reduce the negative impacts, but they still allow more phosphorus to be applied to land in agricultural operations than what the crop removed from the ag lands is expected to use. Therefore, we put together this another 6-month, 180-day extension to our current biosolids moratorium.
This is the,
Yeah, this is the second time we've seen it. I do have a question for staff here. This is actually the third time that it's come across our desk for an extended moratorium, and it seems that the state of Florida has made their decision on what to do. Would that be correct?
They have ratified a rule based on the data that is available. They also allocated funding to the Water Management District. The majority of biosolids in the state of Florida come to the upper basin of the St. Johns River here in our backyard. So they allocated funds for St. Johns River Water Management District to conduct 4 different types of studies during this fiscal year that are currently underway, and depending on the results of those, they will revisit these rules again. So this is it's a step forward, but they recognize that it's probably not everything that needs to be done.
So there could be more changes by the state, is what
Yes.
you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to go out to the audience first. Anybody like to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, I'm bringing it back to the board for discussion.
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend approval H7 on the extension on the moratorium.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Ben and a second by Mr. Capote. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned. Good job.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.